Martha, this is the second show of Interior Lifestyle in Tokyo, and it's the first time that we can greet you as a guest. What are your first impressions?
Well, I think you have a very excellent assortment of manufacturers and of companies who sell this beautiful product. I'm pretty impressed, and even though it's smaller than the Ambiente in Frankfurt, you have a very good distribution of ideas here, all kinds of products.
Glad to hear. So what, besides size, from your point of view, are the major differences to Frankfurt?
The people.
Yeah, it's a completely different mood, isn't it?
Yes, and it's also the time of year, but it's a very different mood, and the space here is excellent. I like the space very much. And easy access to all the booths. Yeah. So it's spacious, and I think the vendors are all very, very happy to be here. Everybody's very friendly.
Now this show, in contrast to Frankfurt, where we cover from high-end brands, design to sourcing companies, this show is very much concentrated on high-end design and crafts companies. I'm curious because you make it your task. We all know you have this beautiful ecological farm, but you made it your task to bring good products to a broader market. How to translate the kind of high-end handicraft product you see here to a broader market?
Well, it's a lot about design, and it's about taking the best in design and the best in methods of manufacturing and doing them for the mass market, not in lesser materials necessarily, but when it's all about mathematics. When you do great production, big numbers of production, you can actually manufacture things less expensively. It works that way. So it's always been my dream and our strategy to take great design, great manufacturing, great materials, raw materials, and turn it into appropriate product for everyone. And even if our stuff is less expensive on the retail pyramid, it's still very long-lived. It's not for just instant gratification. It's really well-made, and I believe that you can do that, and we have done it consistently for many years now.
What I noticed is that there are some trends you would find in this show that I regard as completely international. Sustainability is a big theme here, eco-consciousness, also urban gardening, gardening in small spaces. And when I was just in New York, I learned that also there you are a sponsor of public gardening projects there.
Oh, we are, indeed. Our offices happen to be facing the Hudson River and right adjacent to the Hudson River Park system, which is a very excellent community foundation, really, for building up and maintaining the parks along the Hudson River, all the way from 59th Street down to Battery Park. And I just joined the board of that foundation, and I'm very excited about it because it's what we look at and what we use each and every day. There's another park that has recently been established in New York, which has become wildly popular, and that is the High Line. The High Line stretches from 34th Street down to about 14th or 13th Street, and it's an unused, actually it had become a derelict portion of the subway system, the elevated subway system in New York. And they were thinking actually of tearing it down. It was weed covered and garbage strewn, and they were thinking of tearing it down at great expense. It was much cheaper to leave it and transform it into a public walkway and a place to sit and a scenic views of the whole downtown, that part of New York, sort of what we call Chelsea, and the meatpacking district. We're so excited about it, and it is a charming place.
What is interesting in this context that actually this island, this fairground is on, which is the biggest and most modern fairground in Japan, Tokyo Big Sight, and all our shows are held here, is an artificial island.
Yes.
That was founded like 25 years ago.
It's land reclamation,
absolutely.
Really. And again, Japan's famous for that because they have so little land. It's a small island with a lot of people. And when you go to Osaka and see the airport that was built on a reclaimed land in the middle of the sea, you know, it's kind of fascinating. But again, it's one way to use up landfill, and you know, you have a lot of landfill when you have the trash and garbage from a huge population, and this is a good way to use it, I think.
But what you mentioned is that, and I think we come back to product design here, that a country like Japan, people have to deal with much smaller spaces. Like, for example, in Germany or in the US, the average person has a much bigger apartment, much more space, an own garden maybe even. I also found that in this show you see a lot of products for maintenance and keeping things in order. But also I think this translates to the US market a little, because you have, instead of having a lot of cupboards like we do, you often have this walk-in closets. But in general, is it a big task to translate product as you are expanding from one market to another?
Oh, it's a big challenge, and you have to pay attention to the country in which you are planning to sell. There is alteration to design, absolutely. The Japanese, just think about it. No one has giant bath towels because the washers and dryers are much smaller. So you can't, you can fill your washer with one towel instead of many. And so you have to decrease the size of the towels. The beds are smaller, so the sheets are smaller. The dishes are smaller, well, also because of the way the Japanese eat, smaller portions, more portions. Exactly. So the dishwashers are tiny, if there are dishwashers. So everything has to be really accounted for and in design and altered to fit the particular market in which you are going to sell. That said, so many of the things that we design are so coveted by other countries. They want the lifestyle that is set by someone like me. They want to emulate, and so the challenge is also a pleasure, because you're giving them what they need and what they want at the same time.
But as you said, you are here strongly represented in the handicraft and the craft departments. Are there also, how should I say, challenges on levels of symbols? I mean, it's other holidays here. I know that white flowers have a completely different meaning to Europe.
Well, it's like, take the weddings industry, because that's something that, the Japanese get married in traditional dress, and then they change their clothes and get married again in a Western gown. The weddings, our weddings magazine is very popular here because, again, it's emulation. It's they take those ideas and they really adapt them to their particular lifestyle. And holidays, we published our magazine here for many years, and very little alteration goes into the celebrating of holidays. They love our holidays too, the way we celebrate. And it's not like there are no people celebrating Christmas in Japan. There are many.
Yeah, even in Shanghai, I have to say,
yes,
you find fabulous Christmas decorations throughout the season. Yeah. Really overwhelming.
So again, the world is becoming very flat, and the celebration of traditions, the treatment of a lifestyle, everyday lifestyle, is getting to be more and more homogeneous.
But what I also find fascinating, I mean, we do the same as Messe Frankfurt. We were like the first trade show organizer to export trade shows to other countries, to export brands. We started this 25 years ago, and this show was founded in 1991. But yet we also always try to find the balance between what to export, our standards like talents, like Next, like cafes on the fairground, and what to adjust to the country we go to, what we need local stuff for. So if you go to other markets, you have people who are from this market
too. Oh yes. Oh yes, I traveled here in Japan with a friend, Momoko Sano, who has been really an advisor to me since 1982, I think. And she knows what our brand stands for, she knows what we look for, and she's always doing research and filling us in on the newest, best things here. And that's very important. It's very important to have advice and take advice from the countries in which you are working.
I completely agree. I mean, we have our own office here, and frankly, we could not do it from Frankfurt without an office here.
Oh, no, no. You definitely need input from the locale in which you are working.
I completely agree. Yeah, thank you. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I just thought of something that was interesting. Oh, one thing that I found in the show here is the use of some very interesting materials. There is a lot of laminated wood, manufactured wood being used in very nice ways.
And very thin sometimes.
Oh yes,
unbelievable.
Oh yeah, thin and strong.
Yeah.
And I think that trend is very, very good because of the shortage of wood. They're using particles and pressing them, and it's like it's almost like making layered plywood. But again, going back to woodwork that was popular in Scandinavian countries, the bent wood, also in Germany. Now you're seeing it a lot in molded products here, and it's beautiful, totally beautiful. Where heretofore, the Japanese have been very particular about pure wood, and even though it was very, very thin, it was just wood.
Yeah, but I agree, but I also saw a lot in this show. And I think we will see more of this also in Europe, is quite unusual combination of natural material with plastic, colorful plastic,
Yes.
The combination of material in general. And one of the products I found here, which I think is a world premiere, is this new yarn made of paper.
Oh.
And it feels like linen actually, and from what I understood, it even has similar qualities, but it is made of waste that is left over in paper production. So it looks beautiful and even luxurious.
Of the pulp.
Yeah.
Right, right.
But at the other hand, it is actually a sustainability product.
No, that's good too. I mean, I like to see them see a country or a region using products that there's a lot of. Linen is becoming very popular. Linen, which had become very expensive, is now in many places cheaper than cotton. Because the demand for cotton had grown so huge, and also weather affects cotton tremendously. So if the whole crop can be ruined in a country if there's bad weather.
Absolutely.
Another trend that I see here in Japan is an attention to fineness. It might be expensive, but I think also it's attention to delicacy with strength. The glass that they're blowing now is so thin, and it's gorgeous. And the porcelain that they're making is strong but thin, very nice. I love all of that. I think it's modern. I think it's contemporary. I think it's beautiful and it's useful.
Yeah, I have to say I saw quite a number of new products. For example, the class we managed to bring over to Frankfurt already a few years ago. And having this show, we of course also work with our Japanese office on bringing many of these companies to the European and international markets as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you. It's very interesting always to talk to you.
It's fine.
And get the international viewpoint.
Thank you.
Thank you.